Alrighty, guys, here's something I didn't expect to be hearing about at this point in time, but I suppose it's something that we should have all been thinking about for a while now. But it's interesting because the news that we're about to talk about here, the sequel to one of the most successful films in recent history, it's not coming the way that you think. It's not coming the way that I would have thought. So in 2023, there was a little movie based on a doll of some notoriety, and it was called Barbie. Oh, and it was just a little bit successful. There was this whole Barbenheimer phenomenon, and the film Barbie went on to make $1.4 billion. And by the way, it was one of my favorite movies of 2023. It was wildly entertaining. It had some good emotional moments as well. Really a great fun film. And the thing about billion-dollar films, right? We talked about this. We've talked about this before, and recently with Lilo and Stitch making $1 billion, the conversation is coming up again. That almost every single one of the billion-dollar films that any film that has ever made $1 billion worldwide, almost every single one goes on to get a sequel. A couple rare exceptions, Titanic is one of them, but almost every single billion-dollar film either is a sequel or goes on to get a sequel. And so when Barbie crossed that $1 billion line, I thought immediately, of course we're getting Barbie 2. And it's interesting because, well, that film, it's a franchise. It's a property from Mattel, obviously. And, those are the kinds of films that, of course, you think, oh, yes, they're getting sequels. At the same time, though, the creatives behind Barbie, namely Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie, they don't necessarily seem like the kinds of people who would just make sequels for the sake of making sequels. Although Greta Gerwig is currently in a mega deal to produce a lot of Narnia films and to direct some, I think, and write some. So, but I never pegged Greta Gerwig as I'm just going to make a sequel for the sake of making a sequel. Then again, we had Joker 2, because Joker is one of those films where you're like, no, of course not. It's not going to make, you're not going to make a sequel to Joker. It turns out you did, and it didn't work well because Joker made $1 billion. But, you kind of thought, okay, a Barbie sequel seems more likely than not. And so, the other day, we got news that a Barbie, I'm not going to say Barbie sequel, I'm going to call it a Barbie follow-up, has been confirmed by some of the major trades, including Deadline. The thing is, it's not going to be Barbie 2 necessarily, and it's not going to be a direct sequel to the 2023 film that was live action. In fact, it's going to be animated. So here's the deal. And I'm just going to read from this Deadline article here. Quote, 2 years after the record-setting release of Barbie, the feminist live-action take on Mattel's iconic doll that became a cultural phenomenon, Illumination and Mattel Studios have finalized a deal to develop a new Barbie movie that will be the first in animation for theaters, sources tell Deadline. Reps for Illumination, Universal, and Mattel declined to comment. Not yet dated. We're told the film will be released by Universal Pictures, which has an exclusive financing and distribution partnership with Illumination. And here's the key: no word yet on the plot of this Barbie or creatives attached. So we don't know, according to this article, whether or not Greta Gerwig is going to be involved, whether or not Margot Robbie is going to be returning, whether or not Ryan Gosling is going to be returning. We don't know if this is going to be a kind of pseudo-sequel to that Barbie film, but I would suspect not. Because the interesting thing is, I just don't think that Greta Gerwig would be the kind of person who would make, a sequel for the sake of making a sequel. And yet here we are, because, Barbie made $1 billion, and if you're Mattel and if you're Universal, you're like, yeah, of course we want to make, or was it Warner Brothers who made Barbie? Anyways, if you're Mattel, you're like, of course you want to make a follow-up to it. The thing is, though, if you're just going to make an animated Barbie film that has really nothing to do with the original, it kind of reeks of a cheap cash grab of let's capitalize on the name recognition and the cultural phenomenon that the article talks about Barbie being in 2023. Let's capitalize on that and let's make another film just basically in name only with the Barbie character. And I don't know how that's going to go. I don't know. Are people going to see through it? Frankly, I suspect unless you get some of the creatives back, and even then, even if Greta Gerwig is there to direct it or produce it or even write it, I just don't know if people are going to look at that and go, that's a cheap kind of animated knockoff of the film that came out in 2023. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe this Barbie animated film comes out and A, maybe it is a direct sequel to the 2023 film, and B, maybe people just love it. Maybe people just fall in love with it, and they're like, yeah, this is a great film. Or they look at it and go, well, this is a follow-up to the other film. Maybe this movie also makes $1 billion. So it's interesting. It's definitely not the route that I expected them to take. I either thought they were going to just not make a sequel at all and kind of follow the script of Titanic, for example, that just is a $1 billion film, $2 billion film that doesn't have a sequel, or they were just going to make a direct sequel with Greta Gerwig, Margot Robbie, and Ryan Gosling. So we will see. This is a road a path that I was not expecting, but we will see what happens there. Guys, what do you think of this news that we will be getting a Barbie sequel in a sense, but it's not going to be Greta Gerwig for now, at least. We don't know that. And it's going to be animated, and it's going to be distributed by Illumination. Let me know in the comments down below.